So I have a pretty peculiar relationship with money. In fact, for a long time, I didn't really like money very much. I valued purpose and passion, not profit. And so this kind of rejection of money showed up in my relationship with it. I lose it all the time. I drop it. I worked for a nonprofit for 5 years. I give things away. I do things for free. So one day I'm working at an awesome mission-driven organization in Harlem, New York, and I'm not making any money. I have way too much responsibility. I am super stressed out, and I'm totally broke. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't going to work. My relationship with money needs to change. In fact, I think I need to figure out how to properly make some. So I do the logical thing. I apply to get an MBA. And I move to Ohio, and I go to business school. And I get to business school, and my first couple of months there, it's like finance and accounting and economics, all classes that I refused to take in college. And I'm really having a hard time learning this stuff because I'm afraid that if I actually learn it, then my feelings about the world are going to change. And that scares me. And you know what happens? They do. And I begin to recognize that money just isn't just a selfish pursuit, but really it's a very, very fundamental thing, reflecting our deepest feelings about value and about worth. It's a symbol of what we truly value. And I'm beginning to suspect that money and our feelings about it link to this concept of self-worth. So, it's a Saturday night in January, and I find out that there's a TEDx OSU, and that the theme of it is the spark within. I'm okay. The theme of it is the spark within. And I love this idea because I really believe in this concept of purpose and that each one of us has a unique contribution that we bring to this world. And I would love to spread that message. But I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Well, maybe I'll talk about something around money and value and about how we can use business as a force for social change. And as I'm thinking about these ideas, I wander aimlessly into my kitchen, and I dump out this. It's a change jar that I've had in my kitchen cabinet for as long as I can remember. It was my mom's. And I'll go through this thing occasionally, like looking for quarters, for parking, or for laundry. And I've dumped this thing out hundreds and hundreds of times. And as I'm absent-mindedly picking through it, just thinking about what I would talk about, all of a sudden I come across this. And I'm like, what is this? Is this a Chuck E. Cheese token? And it says on it, experiment, my currency, my glory. But I think that Chuck E. Cheese says, in pizza we trust. But it's in English. And so I turn it around, and on the other side it says, down with the bank. And the date on it is 1843. And so I do what anybody in the 21st century does when we want to find information. I Google it. And I find out that this is what's called a hard times token. And the really brief history lesson of this is that it's the 1800s. Andrew Jackson is running for re-election as president. He's running on the platform that he's going to dismantle the national bank. He wins, dismantles it. States start issuing a lot of paper money. Inflation occurs. People start hoarding their gold and silver coins. This is a disaster. The country starts going through economic hard times that are known as the hard times. And with no... that are known, and there's no coins sorry, you guys threw me off. There's no coins around, so merchants start issuing their own coins. And this is what this is. An alternative made-up currency in my kitchen cabinet the night I'm thinking about doing a talk on money and value. So I'm like, perfect! I will talk about this. So I throw the coin in my wallet. I go and I talk to the TEDx organizers, and I'm like telling them the story. This is what I want to talk about. They like the idea. It's a go. I'm not quite sure what it all means, but it will work itself out. And a couple of days later, I sit down and I pull out my wallet and I go to take out the coin to figure out what I'm going to talk about, and it's gone. So I freak. And I run home, I'm like, it's got to be on the floor. I probably dropped it. It's on the floor. So I run home, and I'm looking all over the place. No, nowhere. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's not about the actual value, because as it turns out, this thing is worth anywhere between 150 and 400 bucks. Okay, so maybe it's not about the fact that I just lost this $400, 200-year-old historical artifact. Maybe it's about the point, like the inspiration and the story. And then I'm like, no, actually, this totally proves that I don't know how to handle money. So what am I going to do? So then I think, you know what? If this is really meant to be, then I'm going to go back into that jar, and there's going to be another coin, because I got nothing else. So I do. I start picking through, and I'm like, is this anything? Is this anything? No, Chuck E. Cheese token, because there actually were a couple in there. And all of a sudden, I find this. And I'm like, what is this? And this one says, we are one. And on the other side, it says 1776. So I'm like, whoa, what is this one worth? So I Google it, and at first glance, it looks like it's only worth $1. But that's because there was replicas made in the 1990s. And it turns out that this is this. It's a continental coin. And depending on who's selling it, who's buying it, and really how well you take care of it, this one is worth anywhere between $10,000, and on one site is auctioning it for over $500,000. All right. So I very quickly, history lesson again, momentous year, 1776 for the United States. It's on July 4th of that year that we signed the Declaration of Independence, saying to the world that we are one. And we think, well, to symbolize that, we're going to issue our own coinage. So that's what this is. It's the very first coin, essentially, of the United States. So my friends' reactions to this are pretty funny. I called them up. I'm like, oh my God, you guys, remember I told you that I had that talk and I lost that coin, but I found another one, and this one I think is worth like $500,000. And they're like, Leanne, don't lose it. And then they're like, are you going to sell it? Which hadn't even occurred to me. And then they're like, what is this, a magic jar? Like, what else is in that jar? You have leprechauns in there? What else are you going to ask it for? So I'm like, okay, well, what else? So what I really like to ask it for is, like, what's the point? Like, why do you keep spitting out all these coins? What are you trying to tell me? And I don't really know, which is not exactly an idea worth spreading, which is what we want to have today. But I have an idea, which I offer up to you. This coin has been in my kitchen cabinet this whole time, and I never knew it. I mistook it for something else. What I thought it wasn't really. So maybe this magic jar is really a metaphor for ourselves, for that thing inside of ourselves that we overlook 100 times. Something that we don't think is special. We don't think it's important. We don't think it's worth anything. We think it's plain or ordinary. But if we just pick it up and pay attention to it, we're going to find out that it's worth a whole lot. Maybe this token is just a representation of that spark within all of us. If you don't take care of it, if you don't value it, then it won't be worth anything. But if you do, if you just pay attention to it, recognize its value, recognize its worth, then the truth is, it's priceless. But I don't know. What do you think? What's in your magic jar? Thank you.